There's Chelsea.
Use a hoe.
Oh, and there's Kurt. All right. God damn it, dog. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of the Can't Get Right with Kurt Metzger podcast and writer for the Kyle Dunnigan show, Jimmy Doer's show. What's happening, buddy? How you doing?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got your mic working, I see.
No, I don't. It still doesn't work. I have to use these stupid headphones.
All right, I'm literally going to text Johnny Tsunami. Can I text him your number? He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He works for Kim Iverson. He'll go get this microphone situation handled.
Yeah, Johnny Tsunami, have him help me. I was watching, dude, you know I never saw the Seymour Hersh Bin Laden thing. Like, I never heard of it until.
Which one? The pipeline one?
The pipeline? No, well,
no.
I know the pipeline thing. I mean, I didn't know the Zero Dark 30 real story at all. That story's crazy. It's really wild. Like, I don't know how that's such a huge thing. And it really is like, where did he even tell people about it? Like, I didn't hear about that at all whenever he came out with that.
Where did that come out? I want to say it was one of those things that was like splashed across the New York Times, Washington Post, stuff like that. But for like a day. Caitlin Johnstone had a tweet out this morning, I think, or yesterday, that was something along the lines of it's important to still talk about Iraq and what happened in Iraq because absolutely fucking no one was held any kind of accountable for it. It was just something that we all sort of went, oh, well, if the new guy said we tortured some folks and that sucks, I guess we all hug and move on.
I remember that too. We tortured some folks.
We tortured some folks.
The folks. What were you guys just showing when I came in? What was that?
Holy shit.
Prior to that, there were two Russian podcasters named Vovan and Lex that
prank thing.
Yeah, so we had the whole 20-minute thing because it's fucking insane, and we watched all of that. The head of the European Central Bank, Kurt
president
Metzger,
of the European Central Bank.
The president of the European Central Bank, who went deep into just how they're going to fuck over every single individual who gets affected the most by the sanctions against Russia that's already part of the European community, why they're getting fucked, why they're not going to get any help, how they're moving to the digital euro, that it is in fact all about control. There's a timetable for it. It's October, by the way. Spoiler alert.
Right. Who is getting fucked? Like who? Oh, I guess I should have came in early.
No, it's all right. It's okay.
Who is getting fucked?
Well, basically anyone who isn't a part of the European aristocracy or oligarchy. Like everybody's getting fucked on this. They were talking about the questions that they asked this lady were fantastic. They asked about energy policy. They asked about how they were going to planning on implementing their new, I guess, transitory economy to the digital euro. Like it's the whole thing's wild as fuck, man. It really.
She even alluded to the fact that they're going to keep raising interest rates up to the fucking roof to try to hold that currency from taking a nosedive. Pretty much, essentially saying any little poor schmuck out there is going to have to eat dirt. They're going to get no car loans, no mortgage loans, no loans to fix their house. That and she said low end 7% at one point. So it's like, holy shit, that's really going to screw a lot of people over into Europe.
Wait, but okay, what was the thing that you were saying about that girl, Chelsea?
So just on the screen now that we came into, this is an article out of the Intercept that's talking about a FBI operation where they enlisted the Orange County Choppers smoke show in the bottom left-hand corner, who was a detective, to go infiltrate a racial justice group when they were doing the BLM marches in 2020. So they had her pose as a sex worker, or allude to the fact that she was a sex worker. We were just starting to wade into it because in 2023, The Intercept, this is the complete irony of it to me, at least. The Intercept is now educating its audience on what a honey trap is.
Well, they did another story about that too with the BLM in Colorado. There was a FBI, and the guy was like a real scumbag.
We talked about that one too. Yeah. We and that that dude's fucking crazy. That dude's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Well, it's wild how like way back when that shit started and you saw like I always was like, did they ever get to the bottom of who left them bricks out? Like the helpful protest bricks?
No.
And I was never like
perfectly placed, stacked up nicely, very easy to take. Just there.
At the time, I wasn't even probably as conspiratorial as I am now, and but I remember being, that's weird, and just like I wonder if anything ever came through with that. And then there was the guy breaking windows, and I wasn't sure if it was a cop or who it was, or if it was an Antifa.
That guy was definitely a cop.
Then when you see the January 6th footage, there's another
guy. That's what I'm saying.
Looks just like that, breaking a window. I'm like, it's been the cops the whole time.
Inside,
and then they still haven't even bothered to look at who's walking by the RNC headquarters with the suitcase that had explosives in it, or at least that's what they said.
Pipe bombs.
Right before January 6th. Nobody's bothered to even like put up a finger over that one.
There's footage inside the Capitol now, some of it released, where Trump supporters are yelling at feds inside the Capitol, kind of like the Ray F situation, where they're fingering and pointing that these guys are feds. Get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? Don't ruin the Capitol. That kind of shit has been surfacing lately, too, as well.
Do you know,
I just want to make a point really quick. January 6 trials are still going on. They're still giving people crazy sentences, locking them up. Nobody's following this shit. They're not getting that footage they can use in their defense, and they are just literally still locking people the fuck up right now.
When they, when Tucker Carlson played the video, and I remember watching the video of what he played, and I remember being like, I wish he didn't get so in the beginning, because this is how people like just snap right out of paying any attention. He's like, well, they were like peaceful sightseeing, and I'm like, dude, get to the cop part and get to the part like because. All the people are like your Bill Maher's and such responding to it. They don't talk about that cop who the one that lost his job because he put out a MAGA hat to get through the crowd because he thought he had to rescue people, and how the cops deliberately stood there. Like, there's all these other things that are not addressed. There's, it's a nothing burger. And I'm like, there's like 3 things that are not a nothing burger, even if you hate the people that entered the Capitol. One is all the cops, like, that just never gets mentioned. All the cops, like, I mean, the undercover ones breaking windows and people pointing and going feds just gets glossed right over every time.
Yeah. Because that screws their fucking narrative up. Now they can't, if in fact we know, and me and Steve were there, we can tell you this. We didn't see one fucking weapon. And most of the people were there because they just had no faith in the elections and they wanted to get to the bottom of what was going on. They firmly thought they got cheated and they wanted to have some transparency and decency in their elections. And that's why they showed up there.
The thing about Sicknick, that cop because I was like, where are they getting this that a cop was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher?
Well, they had to retract that story. And the final story is that he was hit with bear mace. And I don't know if you know that, Kurtz. That's the video they stole from the convo couch to put the bear mace in his hands. And we're still going through lawsuits right now with 35 different networks that use that video. They left the right to use it because the FBI used it.
Every one of these news networks left the giant ass convo couch watermark on the screen when they were airing the footage that they stole too.
Yeah,
it's fucking it's crazy. It is.
There was 2 networks that blotted out the convo couch thing, and they're supposedly have to pay more money. They would go for more money for them, but once again, the FBI used this in their case to put these 2 bozos in jail. One of them was released. One of them's still there since January 6th. He's been arrested. And this is the video they are using where the guy goes, get the bear mace, get the bear mace. He goes, no, not yet. he just happened to stumble right in front of Johnny's tsunami when it was happening, and Johnny accidentally caught it. And that's why footage was never taken down, because they had to legitimize it to put these guys in jail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you see we had Max Blumenthal on Jimmy's show, and he was saying this is his wife's name, Anya, she's a reporter,
Yeah.
She saw Nick Fuentes. You know that guy Nick Fuentes?
Yeah.
With a megaphone yelling at whoever's with him to go break shit, I guess. Guy never got arrested. It doesn't that guy, I remember hearing about him a long time ago, and then when I finally saw him, it was yet another. Who's the other guy? Spencer, the one that got punched.
Richard Spencer.
He's yet another obviously gay guy in the closet who I was like, what is this, like the dangerous something? But they don't mention that he was there stoking on. That guy didn't go to. Clearly that guy's a Fed.
Did you ever watch Shameless, Kurt?
The old one or the new one? Or
The William H. Macy one.
No, just I saw some of the older one. Why?
Okay. Oh, there's a character arc in it where one of the brothers is gay, and he's got like the neighborhood bully is his gay lover. The neighborhood bully is Nick Fuentes. If you've ever seen the show, it's not played by Nick, but the personality type,
who like Darren from Bewitched, if he was really suppressing his gayness.
Where he's in the sense that just a modernized version and hyper masculine version of just complete.
Dude, nothing about Nick Fuentes. The only reason I even know the guy is like that stupid Patriot Front that they would occasionally report on, like it's a real thing. Like it's not obviously a Fed group. I remember seeing him because I would just hear about there's these alt-right people and they're dangerous. Then I see the guy and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And the clips of him talking are so over the top, like no one who is a real kind of pundit would speak that way. It's just like we have to force people to believe it's like shit that's like really obviously only going to appeal to like a nut. It just looked like a honey trap for lunatics.
Well, it's a honey trap for 14 to 17-year-olds who then go mature onto firmer content like Ben Shapiro's. That's what that pipeline.
Do they go on to that? I think they go on to being cat boys.
There's that too. There's that. It's a wide net they're casting.
Is Fuentes still working for Ye?
See, that's the other thing. I think he was put there. That whole thing of like dinner with Trump. So Milo Yiannopoulos, another guy, never I don't understand what this weird like ultra like conservative gay guy alt-right thing. But I remember out of the gate when that bullshit was a thing, when it was still kind of a thing, the alt-right, and that's because Milo wrote that stupid fucking article about how they're like kind of punk rock or whatever the fuck.
Well, and then Michael Malice wrote the New Right, and that kind of kicked them off a little bit too.
But he didn't use the term alt-right. I know Malice, because Malice is like not Malice is like an anarchist.
Yeah.
But the thing of fusing it, and then now Milo's like a reformed,
straight Christian.
Yeah, and he has like a
girlfriend, baby, covered in some shit. Yeah.
He went to Marcus Bachman's University of No Longer Sucking Dick.
Dude, it's so funny to see his calendar of how many days without sodomy he made. His poor husband. If you hear that black guy, he's like, he's been demoted to roommate. I'm like, oh my God. And he's got like an AA thing of like days. Dude, if you got to do that, go for sodomy, I say.
Right. You gotta treat it or at least make your ex walk around wearing a T-shirt that says no longer a publicity stunt or something. There's
Well, the two of them were with Kanye, right? Because Kanye is a famous guy who is like, and Kanye sounds like, I remember watching that, like that embarrassing where you're like, dude, I'm not even for them kind of pills, but like take them. But it was clearly like they're with him so they could get to a dinner at Trump, so somebody could report that Trump had this guy, and Trump has no idea who the hell he has no idea who the hell anyone is, and because that's the time it was reported. Like It's amazing to see the desperation for a guy who really shouldn't ever have done as well as he did, Donald Trump. The desperation to like take him out. It's fucking wild, man.
You think that's real though? You don't think it's like all kabuki theater and shit to distract us from everything that's going on to take Trump out?
Do I think what's real? The Kanye thing?
No, the Trump thing. Like when you say, "Oh, it's desperate to take him out," kind of thing.
Like there's a whole bunch of groups that like they're already campaigning now. He's got to be the front runner, I imagine. Can you imagine how insane that would be if he got elected again? I mean, that's like I can't even. First of all, just the idea that the election would be these are your choices, Trump or Biden. I can't. Like, I mean, goddamn. People talk about the MCU falling off. How about like America itself? So now they got maybe he's supposed to be arrested or something for.
Yeah,
I think they're
that's
hoping,
what I'm saying. Yeah,
I think they're hoping for a riot, is what I think.
Trying to
They're
victimize him too. So, but
what
I mean,
cracked me up though is just immediately there was an oversaturation of the Fed Post memes where they were like, Donald Trump's going to get arrested. And then everybody on the internet was like, hey, this is clearly they didn't get what they wanted out of January 6th. So
that's how it looked immediately to me. And I without even thinking Fed, I was just like, okay, even if it wasn't that, like who would even go out and first of all, I can't imagine going out and protesting for Trump like that anyway, because but it seemed like such an obvious, like, dude, no one's going out to go march for you after like all that shit from January 6th. You could just see them, the media doing that, like, oh, barricade set up, like that slobbering. No, will there be trouble? Hope.
So, Kurt, I want to ask you a question because I'm wondering where you're at on this. When I talked to you about the whole situation, I said, possibly I said, let's not call it a lab leak anymore because it was definitely a bioweapon of sorts. You know what I'm saying? There's another whole argument we'll get to eventually with terrain theory versus germ theory. But, the thing that when I first saw the situation happen, I was always questioning in the beginning, was this let out on purpose or was this an accidental leak? I had no doubt in my mind that it was curated in a lab, right?
Right.
Where is your head out now as far as thinking that this was a planned attack? Because I said, go ahead and look at Event 201 and go look at the lockstep document, which will tell you about, okay, there's like actual documentation, like a blueprint of sort of what's to happen once these things are let out, right? Mm-hmm. And I brought a video today about what was going on in COVID in hospitals from a whistleblower, you know what I'm saying? A nurse, because a lot of people was like, why weren't there more videos out there? Why wasn't there more proof? But they paid doctors a lot of overtime, same with nurses, and they said, keep your mouth shut. And if you're making $10,000 a week, right, that might kind of be some incentive to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah,
I get a little pissed off at people still kind of like kissing Trump's ass because Trump signed the CARES Act, and the CARES Act was the vessel in which it incentivized people to be put on ventilators, to use the remdesivir, the COVID protocols, the ones we pushed against and said, this is fucked up. Don't ever do them. So that's why I get frustrated with the Trump thing. But where is your head at when it comes to, okay, is this a leak or is this a bioweapon? Because I also told you, and I believe she was on Jimmy's show. She was supposed to come on our show, right, Steve? The whistleblower that said the DOD had this planned out. She had all the documentation for it.
Oh, Brooke?
Not Brooke. Brooke was more about it was another one that said, I have documentation. Trevor tried to get her on her show. Documentation. I believe she's a European woman. She said she has documentation showing that the DOD.
That's right.
I totally forgot her fucking name.
When I heard they worked for, so I remember when I was like, okay, clear this leak from a lab. Right in the back. I'm like, obviously this came out of the lab, but I thought it was like I don't know if it. A deploying on purpose is fucking crazy. Possibly though, who the fuck knows? But I was shocked when I found out. Oh, we were paying them at that. Like when like the timeline of it of like, oh, China. Obviously, it's China. They're fucking around with the thing, and then I found out. Oh no, like Fauci paid a guy to pay a guy. That's the thing that really blew my mind, that America was funding this in China. And then I'm watching stuff about Ebola, that last Ebola outbreak. because I think those two guys that said it looked like it came from a lab, and then they got money from Fauci, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, it came from they was coming with like a new kind of Pokemon that it could have been that gave it. They're like, now it's a raccoon dog. We thought it was a soup bat. But
the raccoon. Did you ever know the fucking raccoon dogs existed?
No, like we think it might be either a Charizard or a raccoon dog, and then but I mean now, dude, I'm almost like gonna be a full hotep soon, where I'm like the government be inventing AIDS, like Kanye's whole song. I mean, I probably make all of those.
Next time you're in Vegas, Kurt, we'll have a chat. We'll have a chat. You may not come out full hotep, but you'll be like, God damn.
Dude, all the things that I'm telling you, that all my black friends in New York that were saying, like every wackadoo conspiracy, at least half of them deserve another look at the very least.
Was talking to my neighbor. I was talking to my neighbor about this the other day, dude. Old heads from the hood in the 80s, 90s, shit like that. The first time I got Behold the Pale Horse, which is Bill Cooper's.
Yeah, I was actually watching an old video of him because I vaguely, like, I knew who he was and stuff, but I only knew like the broad strokes. I was watching him talk about it. I'm like, oh, that's a lot more interesting. I don't know what it ended up like, how much of what he said was but if you're expecting the worst kind of thing about the government of them, you're not going to be far off. Even if you're wrong, you're going to be pretty close. So a lot of stuff that he said like the 90s is like, oh, that might kind of a little bit sounds right,
Yeah, and it was old conspiracy black dude that gave me that book. Wow.
Well, that's what woke meant back in the day. Was that
if anybody wants Bill Cooper on a pale horse, we do have that T-shirt. We do. You can order it from the AM Wake Up merch store. Just throwing that out there.
But so you look at Lockstep, right? And it tells you, it provides a blueprint, right? And I believe that's the Rockefellers document who put that out there. And then you look at Event 201, which is an event that kind of simulated what would it do in the case of a pandemic. But what really kind of caught my eyes as the thing was going on is it seemed that the hospitals knew exactly what to do. Like they were on the same page. They understood how they were going to make a lot of money with this. They understood their duty. I have this video I brought today of a whistleblower showing some footage of what was going on. Now, we don't have to watch the whole 10 minutes, but we'll watch a little bit of what was going on because there were a couple nurses out there that did blow a weapon.
Does it show? I want to see
also, if you look at it's easy thing to Google, like all the argument at gain of function research, which I heard Brett Weinstein bring it up the first time. I'd never heard of it ever, right? Yeah. If you just Google it, you could see 2017. Yep. That's when Trump lifted the fucking restrictions on it, like a fucking idiot. And then I can't believe there's an argument about whether it was taking place when back in 2017, there's a bunch of articles saying like, oh, they're going to let this dangerous research go on.
Yeah, but they never stopped anyways. They just reframed the argument and say, well, that's not technically gain of function.
I don't understand why they even did that, because it looks like it was allowed to happen in 2017. Maybe I'm missing like a chunk of the story, but then when I read, I'm like, well, why are they pretending it's not gain of function?
Yeah, well, even Fauci did that whole kind of two-step. Where he's like, well, that's technically not gain of function, and I was like, wait a second, what do you mean when you're injecting proteins into fucking
him talking to that black guy, and he goes, well, this is an approach. His little wormy use of language, it's unreal. It's like, what a sack of shit. And I wonder,
he sat there and lied to those people over and over and over and over. That was brutal.
And they immediately put it out where he's telling people, one person one thing, and the next people he's saying something completely different, contradicting himself. It's like, why would you release that? You look like an asshole.
Because people like that think it's like House of Cards when that came out here with Kevin Spacey. Like those kind of people, that's like a point of pride to them, how well they can spin bullshit, and it looks like you're like good because look how slick you play the game, and like they all think that's great. None of them think that's like, oh, that's gross, you're just making up. They all think that's like a display of amazing skill to do that. Like
this goes back to your theory about what really pissed him off was that that they weren't doing what was demanded by like protocol. Whole like, though there was a peaceful transition of power, and that's what makes us. That's just separates us from the beasts. It was we maintained decorum, even though all of this illegal shit that technically is the complete surrender of whatever passes.
Oh, like the thing of how Hillary, like, she thought it was robbed from her, but then just like transferred.
I think they're bringing Hillary back. By the way, I think it's be Hillary Trump.
You think so?
Oh man.
I think so.
Given the
you don't think it's going to be Biden?
No.
Given the way that most people in the independent media are talking about things and covering things and acting, you would think that it was 2016 all over again. So we might as well do Hillary and Trump, because most of these people are just fucking disappointing.
I don't, man. I wonder. Because we had we covered that stupid politics girl. That.
I know. I saw you guys play that. Yeah.
The paid actress.
The bumper sticker.
I mean,
just throw every little bumper sticker thing out there. Yeah.
She's in a kitchen, like she's just I just had some thoughts, and so those are those guys that put out the Rogan thing, like they got that, dug up the Alex Jones like N-word hit piece, and so that they're starting the campaign up right now, and so her whole thing was to get you like, no, Biden's doing a great job. And what I was saying on the video is like, oh, we've already, like, we like this guy Biden. So what? He says malarkey is a little old. We already spent all this money on this husk of a man. We're satisfied. Like, we're not spending more money on another fucking puppet. Like, finish your bowl of Biden, or it'll be waiting for you tomorrow.
Primary, she said. The last thing we need is a primary. You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember Wag the Dog?
Democracy is at stake.
I want everybody to just step back in time for a moment and recall a simpler place in history where Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro got together to fake a war. Wag the Dog.
Yeah, right.
And the tagline that they used for the fake president at the time, who, by the way, in case anyone forgot this little plot point, had been busted fucking a minor. And that's what the scandal was about, was that the president's a pedophile.
Was it a teen or a
pre? It was a teen.
It's really not a pedophile. I mean, it's a heap of something. Right?
If he are okay, Vouch. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm telling you what it is. Like,
I know.
Listen,
I'm fucking with.
I don't know if you're a Christian, but I mean, the Virgin Mary, was like 12. I mean, it's a bit young, but
well, look, especially if you're God and you're infinite in age, you're literally as old as time, and you're fucking a 12-year-old. That is the
biggest dick in the universe. That's not cool.
Super creepy at that point, because then
that's like, what they all listen. That's all of, like I said, the thing that's amazing if I think about it, like now,
that the Abrahamic tradition thrives on young pussy.
The whole, like, when they on To Catch a Predator. Half of the guys, the ones that weren't like visibly retarded, and I mean that in the medical sense, the ones that weren't that were Indian or Pakistani or whatever, because in that part of the world, they're still, it's like they're still on that, I guess, acceptable age time zone that we've moved past here. And so, like, to them, like, what? No, normally your dad buys you a wife when she's 16, and then, she'll bear you children and all that shit. But it's still like wrong. I mean, I wouldn't honestly. A girl's like 20 seems very young to me, But it's not like it's like how they throw genocide around for every goddamn atrocity, and genocide's this very specific thing, Yeah. So that's like I don't know. I'm just like, people don't technically know. I don't know. It always bugs me the definitions of shit changing. Because it's like, but I guess that's how it works. Like,
I want to say in the movie she might have been 15. I don't know. I can't remember for sure. But the campaign slogan they used for him was "You don't change horses in midstream" or something like that. And that's exactly.
Did
that's
David Mamet write that? Is that David Mamet script?
It might have been.
It might. Yeah. Well, also back then when that came out, like, every fucking band, you know, they've all like Steven Tyler, I think, has some shit now for writing a book about how he got some parents to sign a permission slip so he could take their 16-year-old daughter around and bang her.
Yeah.
Back then, like when I was in high school, all the girls that were like cool in my school were like fucking a guy that could go to jail. All of them, the songs. Like I got into high school freshman. You know, now I didn't do any. I was a like Christian, so I didn't do anything till I was like 20. I was like if I was 15 and a teacher fucked me, that it would have been like 100% like mentally I was in no way mature, but a bunch of people were, and that was like cool to do that. Some scumbag guy that's like 22 that works at a gas station or guitar store, and that was like an awesome thing. And all the songs were like, you know, she's only 17. That like it's amazing how much. And I always wonder how that changed, and I think it has something to do with kids can't move out till they're 30 because of the economy, right? Because you know his grandparents were like they just I faked my age, like they would fake their age and go in fight in a war.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And
well, and they looked like grown-ass adults when they were 14.
Yeah, they all look 30.
They had facial hair. They're all smoking cigars. They're in three-piece suits.
So, you know, I don't know if that's like I mean, I'm not against the thing of being an adult before you're having sex with a much older person anyway. Like, but it is weird to me because now the laws in different states will, like when they were trying to with Chris D'Elia, right? He had that.
Yeah.
It like, why is it legal then in these states? Because now I'm hearing shit where it's like, oh my God, that girl's only 18, or that girl's. I've heard people say shit like a 20-year-old child. They've actually said that, like, you know, like on Twitter and shit.
Yeah.
So there's something like and now I see like gay guys doing that where they're like, I was only 20 and he was 40 and used like that. He used his power shit, but it's like gay guys saying it, which like traditionally, dude, they start as young as the girls in my high school.
Yeah. So, okay. So I will say this, man, Ed, from the standpoint of a dude with a teenage son at 17, and I'm a very smart, very capable kid, very funny kid, which freaks me out because he's legitimately funny, which to me means might have a problem or two, you know, but that's okay. We can work through that. He's still a fucking child. He's still a child.
Yeah, no,
his brain's not going to be developed until he's 26, and he's going to make little kid decisions at least up until that point. So,
does he live in extreme? Does he live in extreme poverty or anything though? Because like
I wouldn't call it extreme.
Well, because of the Puerto Rican, when I was in like 6th grade, the Puerto Rican kids had mustaches and jobs and families. Like, it is something Caucasian. Like, there's something Caucasian about. Definitely, I was a kid at 17.
He's been dragging brush and carrying firewood since he was 5 years old. I mean, you know, like he's.
Well, mentally, there's something like. I guess it's like just a first world country. Like maybe that's what it is. I just want because like in fucking. I mean, it seems like crazy to me, but like Mexico City, the age of consent is 12.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Doesn't sound right? Like Jesus. Like it just seems like but I'm all for it. I mean, good. It's fine with me, the cultural thing. But it's just when people are like objectively, that's where I'm like, all right, well, we should all get together on these laws that are different in every state then. Because it's very strange. Like in one state, it's literally the crime of rape, and another, that's fine. And then it's weird. Your parents could sign your parents could sign a thing and be like cool with it. And suddenly, so then I don't know. That's just very strange to me.
Right. Yeah. No, it's okay if little Susan goes out and whores it up tonight. We're fine with that.
You could marry your daughter off at 14. You could sign a thing as a parent and say, oh yeah, she's married. Yeah. And I'm like, is that like less damn? You know, the reason those laws were made is because they didn't want teen pregnancy, because they didn't want to deal with that. It wasn't anything about like your emotional maturity or anything like that. It was like, we just don't want them knocked up, and then who's going to pay for this? That's how they made this.
Right. The Gillis has a bit about being the first state to have to go first for age of consent when they were doing the Constitution.
Wait, why did I get it? We got way off topic because of, I don't know why I'm defending pedophilia. We got way off topic with me for some reason. What did you bring up about the guy?
I think it all started with Wag the Dog. But
that's right, Wag the
we've
Dog.
basically been living that whole ass movie ever since the whole Ukraine thing kicked off. And Zelensky's done most of it on a green screen. In that movie, they were debuting the green screen war.
I just watched. My girl just watched Election. The movie with it's an Adam McKay movie with Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell, and so we're watching it, and it's so funny because Adam McKay. I really like that movie. The Other Guys. It's not like a good movie, but it's funny, And I agree with his points in that movie, about how this is after the collapse and stuff. So Adam McKay is, I'm sure, a full Trump derangement guy. But back then he understood how the shit worked. And anyway, at the end of the movie, the Mach brothers, which is Dan Aykroyd and John Lithgow, are the Koch brothers, because the last time Democrats didn't like a billionaire with those guys. And when the election happens. Zach Galifianakis loses, right? And it's because the Mach brothers voting machines. So it's like, oh, they rigged the machines and I'm seeing now. I had forgotten about that bit, and I'm like, we're sitting there watching it. Like, can you imagine putting even a joke like that in a movie now? Like, you wouldn't even dare touch even the mere suggestion that some billionaire could rig. I mean, it's amazing to me. And they all have to be. It would have to be
it would have to be the Chinese now or the Russians. They're the only people that have the technology and the temerity and the evil nature to rig an election now. The call couldn't be coming from inside the house, Kurt. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't even get, especially the China thing, because we're gonna have to maybe one side is enough of this Ukraine shit. We got to get started on our China war. I still don't get how the fuck that's supposed to work. Why did you send all the jobs there and all the why did you do that if there are enemy? Are you going to make everybody stop doing business with them because they're our enemy? No. What are you talking about? I don't even get it. And everybody just kind of go, yeah, no, China.
Well, okay, so the kind of bring it back to an earlier point Pasta was making about Event 201 and Lockstep and these things. There was, I don't know if you guys have talked about it on the other show, but there was a simulated exercise called SPARS 2025. And if you take basically all of the things that they're talking about and all of their problem reaction solution methods of dealing with it, and you lay it over the top of 2020 to about now, you're just checking off boxes left and right.
Yeah, right.
In terms of placing us into this sort of on the edge of economic freefall with pilot programs in place for things like a digital health passport and digital currency and the basically the equivalent of WeChat, which is the one app in China that's your whole life now. That's all your communication, all your finances, your social credit, all that stuff. The foundations for that being laid out. And it's, if you haven't taken a look at it, I'm happy to send it to you. It's
I've never taken a look. Well, this is why I always wonder, because is it that they have to physically make the thing happen, or is it that they know goddamn well the kind of shit that's going on, so it's only a matter of time before a terror attack? We know we armed all these people. They're mad at us. We keep doing this shit. They're obviously going to do something sooner or later. So we know we're doing this research, and obviously something's going to leak at some point. Is it that, or do you think it's they're oh, we're going to make this happen on this day?
Well, we were just listening to the European Central Bank lady. So I'll just give you an example based off of what we just heard. and she was talking about the rollout for the digital euro. And she set a timetable for it. She said, none of this is going to happen until October of this year. But we're doing this, the training up on how to roll it out and implement it, things like that. And so in a short-term sense, there's, target release dates. But the pasta talks about this shit a lot in the restaurant industry. The concept of the soft opening, which just cracks me up because I'm a fucking child. But the rollout to this stuff is already taking place. There's a handful of countries that have implemented their central bank digital currency. Nigeria is one of them. There's a couple Caribbean countries, Jamaica, the Bahamas, I think, maybe Barbados.
Where'd Pasta go, by the way?
He does this from time to time. He just checks out. Just checks out. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. No, there we go.
Not
there
true.
We go.
I got old man's bladder. I got, I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Apologize.
But I mean, in terms of the West being a sort of a homogenous entity, like a sort of corporate ran entity where nation states are sort of, that's been gamed out for a very long time. And that's consistently across the board, people that have been in positions of both political and private entity leadership have all gone through like the same mentorship programs at the same Ivy League schools and do the same overseas partnerships and are all on the boards of each other's shit and all that kind of stuff. And that's, I mean, if you ever have an opportunity to read it or get a copy of it, pick up a copy of Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley and just kind of pour through that thing. And there's a follow-up book that we can get into later. But that was written in 1972 about a plan that had been in place since the formation of the Milner Group, which goes back to Cecil Rhodes, which did the whole Rhodes Scholarship Program.
So the Rhodes Scholarship is from Cecil Rhodes. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know that.
And so I mean, there's a lot of long-term plans to walk us into what is effectively a transhumanist digital prison. Yes, but as far as target dates and is there one person or no.
Yeah, no, it's just that we all are moving in this direction, and it's not. That's what I think is like you don't have like when people talk about shit like Illuminati, it's like another name for class solidarity, which is we're all rich people that all agree this is where we should be moving towards.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to peel the crazy off what is considered conspiracy theory, and just look at patterns over time.
Or the things they say openly.
Exactly.
Well, they have to do it openly because it's a karmatic thing which removes responsibility from them since they told us. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the reason they do tell us. So therefore, it's not on them. What do you mean? I let everybody know what we were doing. And then that video we played where the president of the European Central Bank, they got into a little bit of that, like what's going on with these digital currencies. And
you guys got to take a look at that, man.
Yeah. It's
when they're in the room she thinks she's talking to Zelensky, so she's comfortable. And so she thinks she's talking to a peer. So the candid.
Were they doing like a good Hervé Villachez voice for?
Did a great Zelensky.
He played. That's how he talks like it.
So I'd like to play this video I have about the whistleblower too, as well, because I think this leads into the fact that was this gamed out? Was this planned? Did they know what was coming? Is this a part of a eugenics program? Was this a part about rearranging society to get everybody into digital? QR codes, because once you get a shot, you do get a QR code, and eventually, the G12 just recently voted to make sure that they have digital passports in play. So they want to make sure, and 20 leaders signed on to it. They want to make sure they can trace you wherever you're at, move you into these 15-minute cities, right? They don't want you going elsewhere. They don't want you traveling. You don't want you seeing what other people look like, only what they tell you the foreigner or the enemy looks like. But this is what happened in the hospitals right out of the gate. And it seemed as if the hospitals, the bigger ups, knew exactly what they were doing to make their money. And this is why I get so frustrated with people with the whole Donald Trump thing. You know, they villainize him. Therefore, they would forget the fact that he's the one that signed the CARES Act. The CARES Act was the vessel for all these COVID protocols for people to make money. Not only did it have economic blowback because, in fact, they printed all this money and gave it up to all these big corporations, the banks and whatnot, and gave the little guy a little chump change. So economically, we were fucked. But in these hospitals, take a look what happened. This is a whistleblower. I'm going to play it right now. She says government crimes. And she's a deplorable for Trump 2024. I don't know. And that's why I kind of made the whole thing. Trump signed the CARES Act. They paid doctors and nurses to murder innocent patients. They faked COVID cases and deaths to install fear in the population. They denied safe early treatments, murdering millions of innocent people. They forced ineffective, toxic COVID vaccines on the world. They censored anyone sharing life-saving early treatment information and anyone who warned about the dangers of the COVID vaccines. The government's willfully committed crimes against humanity. Take a look.
Why would they take me out of his room and put me in the ED? And then not 20 minutes later, he's dead. It doesn't make sense. Like, did they kill him? He was my one patient that was going to live. He shouldn't have died. I don't know what they did to him. Something's not right.
I got back to my hotel room and I broke down, like on the floor in tears, like, I can't do this. So I haven't talked about like this part in a long time. I like didn't know what else to do. So I called like my friends. I told them like what was happening. I told them that it was literally gross negligence. Nobody cared. They weren't coding patients that were, a code blue. They would just let them go. And, then reporting to the families like that they did everything they could when I know that for a fact that they didn't. And when I saw that, that's when I realized like nobody is going to believe this. No one's going to believe that this is happening without proof. And so I contacted a couple New York attorneys and we decided that I needed to go undercover. So I did.
This patient is in with like a non-COVID. I don't understand why they're doing that.
I know. There's 4 patients in a row here on COVID. And this is supposed to be the COVID.
Yeah.
Because 7th floor, they shut it down.
That's right. I'm confused.
And then they're going to have non-COVID there.
Yeah.
This is going to be the only COVID. So they shouldn't put any non-COVIDs here.
Well, that's what they've been doing. The guy over in 29, I had him upstairs because I was on CCU before it.
Yeah.
And he came in with a stroke.
I know. That's what 26-1 was, a stroke.
And no COVID. And now he's got COVID and he's on a vent.
Well, because we gave it to him here.
My attorney dropped off a pair of spyglasses for me. I got audio recording software for my phone, and I started recording.
My bigger problem with this whole scenario is when they intubate people who don't need it.
Yeah.
And it looks very clear to me that they're just pushing it.
It was like the day before intubation, he was fine on the rebreather.
And then they intubated, and then he got a pneumo, and then they put in a PEP tube, and then it's been shipped.
And now he's 37 years old and dead.
This isn't what my profession stands for. We can't look away. We're mandatory reporters. Like, this is our job to protect the patient. As nurses, we're patient advocates. Our oath is to do no harm. And like, that's all that was being done. There were very few actual ICU doctors running these floors. They had residents in. There was ophthalmologists, dentists, people that had absolutely no clue what they were doing. Maybe, 2 or 3 respiratory therapists for the entire hospital when we needed respiratory therapists for the ventilators because nobody knew how to run them, which also caused that. So they would blow out these patients' lungs and then call it a day. Next patient in, same thing.
Nearly 2,000 people have tested positive for coronavirus. That's bad, and this is worse. Hospitals there are getting ready tonight for a surge. Meantime, Governor Ned Lamont toured a facility manufacturing ventilators for critical care patients. 34 people have died, and federal officials just approved a disaster declaration for the state, and that will allow all 8 counties to be reimbursed for costs associated with the response to the pandemic.
Patients coming into the emergency room would be given no options. And they would be told, if you're not admitted, you're going to die, essentially. You need to get admitted. And so they did. You know, fear is a very, very strong emotion. And when people are unaware of what's going on, obviously they're going to trust us. But nobody was telling the truth.
The Comfort Now is just pulling into dock here in Midtown Manhattan.
Could have went to the comfort shed where, you know, if they didn't have COVID, that was meant for them, but it was just bypassed. Governor Cuomo said that they were running out of space and they needed extra hospital beds for the patients that didn't have COVID. And so President Trump at the time sent the ship, and the ship was never utilized because they were ordered to stand down. You know, they admitted everybody to these hospitals. They stuffed them in like sardines because there was financial incentive to do so. It was $13,000 to admit these patients to the hospitals, another $39,000 to put them on a ventilator. And then in some cases, people were worth $10,000 per death with no liability to any of the hospitals, any of the staff, any of the doctors, any of the nurses. And all at the same time, you know, nurses were getting paid $10,000 a week on average. Doctors were getting paid, you know, $50,000, $60,000 a week, and everybody was on gag orders. And if you said anything, you know, you were fired, which ultimately, you know, happened to me at the end of my.
Oh, wow. When did that come out?
I don't know the exact release date. I think it was out a while ago, and then they just replayed it again. I think it was like it was on Rumble or something, and eventually, like the whole full version. And I think they eventually played it on Tucker Carlson. But she's not lying when she's talking about what was in the CARES Act. The CARES Act directly didn't say what was going on. What they did was they kicked the money to HHS. HHS decided who gets the funding. That's why you had to always look at Health and Human Services. And it's run by one particular appointee. In this case, it's a guy from California named Xavier Barrera, who we know very fucking well, shit-lived from our neck of the woods over there in LA. And there's 2 different types of emergencies. There's the national emergency, in which the president can call, and that's a 1-year emergency, and it gives him emergency powers. But there's something called the public health emergency, and that's something that the head of the HHS can call, and that decides all where the money goes. It's called the public health emergency, and what stays on emergency use authorization, and how the funds are distributed. So through the CARES Act, if they got these people there, and if they got them on a ventilator, and they also got not just the $39,000, I think with a positive COVID test in certain areas, they got an additional 60% of the whole bill was kicked to the freaking hospital as well in certain situations. So it was nothing more than a money train. And this is why I think that this is a plan that was implemented, because the hospitals knew exactly what to do, lockstep the whole way, and ultimately be a partner in this fucking changing of the whole world.
For that kind of look, for that, because, you know, the hospitals are like, I think it's like 73% of them are owned by the same fucking company. Like, if the money, do you even have to let them in on the plan if you're giving them the money? It sounds like they're just going to exactly do it when the money's coming in. The higher ups are like, hey, do this because we get this amount of money per head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
especially if it's an unknown virus and they don't know the protocols. I mean, doctors, yeah, their oath might be to look after their patients. Same with the nurse, but they follow along what Big Pharma tells them what to do, what their bosses tell them what to do. And if you don't play ball, you're out, you know? And
also based on money, like, yeah, they take an oath, but, you know, like who's the doctor that made Michael Jackson's face look like that or Madonna's face look like that? Like, they're so like,
yeah.
That's why when you see all like the trans clinic shit, we were talking about it on like Jimmy's after show. This woman was talking who worked at one of those transition clinics. She's talking about how they were just like trying to get as many kids as they could to take hormones.
Yeah.
And it would be groups of girls from the same fucking school. So that's clearly the social contagion of it. And it sounded to me like the pain clinics that were giving out OxyContin like candy, you know, like it's clearly and like
Florida.
Yeah, so just like instead of fucking instead of like we're making money off pills, it's off hormones. It's probably cost way more.
Yeah.
Oh, also, isn't the new lady that's the Health and Human Services head, that black lady that has the new, you know, when your patients are fat and they tell the doctor they're exercising and dieting and they're clearly not. If you ever saw My 600-Pound Life, and the doctors are wrong and have to stop doing that. And that chick she's sponsored by Ozempic, and I didn't really know about Ozempic. All of a sudden, you hear about it nonstop because all the celebrities are taking it to shed some pounds for the Oscars or whatever, and there's not enough for all the diabetes people. It just sounds like a hype thing for Ozempic. It works so well you can't even get it, and that shit's like $800 a week or something, if you're lucky, I think. And so that she's paid off to like, hey, that's why this weird thing of like, yeah, no, be fat, like it's totally cool, like it's very healthy, because there's a drug that they make called Ozempic that can help these people that, you know, some people just can't lose any weight. They just need to have this drug, Ozempic.
Yeah. Really quickly, Steve, I just want to show why you're getting that up, because Ricky just said he has this particular nurse. He did an episode. I'm going to link it in the doc so you can get more information. It's an hour and a half. That's, you know, Ricky had it. One of our boys, Ricky Varandas, Ripple Effect, leader of the Union and Unwanted crew, one of the Four Horsemen, I guess. Is he one of the Four Horsemen, Steve?
Yeah.
It's Ricky, Mike, Charlie, and Sam.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Great show. So I'm gonna link it in the chat, guys, and you can go check it out. Okay. So, go ahead, Steve. My bad.
So
hey, you know, in that digital. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was say quickly to your point just a moment ago about new head of HHS, former head of HHS, the guy who they put in the assistant emergency or preparedness and response role in 2017 in the Trump administration, a guy named Robert Kadlec, who has ties all the way back to 9/11. The Emergent Biosolutions, which is the company that was eventually laid responsible for supplying the I guess ingredients that made up for the original lab leak, gain of function lab leak at Fort Detrick in 2015. Whitney Webb did this expose on Kadlec.
Wait, what is the 2015? I don't know about that.
Okay, so in 2015, there was a Fort Detrick got shut down because there was an exposure, I guess.
Of what? To what?
Of a something that they weren't very forthcoming.
Yeah.
With what the exact, virus or whatever it was that they said.
They've been doing gain of function research at this particular base for a while.
Yeah, that's where the initial gain of function research started. Before it was shut down by Barack Obama and outsourced.
It was a pause.
It took place at Fort Detrick in Maryland. Whitney done incredible work on this. We were lucky enough to have her on the show throughout all of the series and the number.
Wait, Fort Detrick. Okay, do you remember there was that response?
North Carolina, right?
In Maryland, I did a USO show years ago at some base in Maryland, and maybe it wasn't Fort Detrick. It was wherever, if there's a dirty bomb, which that thing that isn't a real thing, it turns out, but in case there was going to be like a dirty bomb attack, they had all these guys.
Virginia Beach, right?
No, this is in Maryland. I was in Maryland. It was this base, and they had all this crazy equipment, just had like plastic coverings on it, in case some attack like that happened. And I did a show there. It was back when I was doing that cartoon voice on Ugly Americans. And it was funny, the guy who taking me around the base, like you could see like their whole job was to like hope that they never did their job, basically. So they're like bored. So they're very happy to have somebody come and they're showing me all this stuff. And I was like, oh, and I forgot about that. Years later, I think we found out from on Jimmy's show, the guy was talking about I think it was Scott Ritter. Whoever we had on was talking about how a dirty bomb's not even a fucking thing. which I never heard that.
That would probably be Scott Ritter. Because
but they don't. Yeah, they don't work. Somebody tried to. Did Iran try to do? I think one country tried to do it, and it doesn't fucking work. It's not this thing you have to worry about a dirty bomb. They put some nuclear waste or something and explode it, and then you get the just like the fallout radiation poisoning effects, and that was never a viable. They'd known for years that's never been a viable bomb.
Well,
probably
Scott
accused Iraq of it, huh?
Scott was a weapons inspector, so he would have.
He would know this.
He would know.
But I guess it was news at some point that dirty bombs are like not real. But I never heard it until like.
I mean, they probably did. It's one of those things where you can put it out. You can put it out on the front page of the paper for a day, and then the very next day you can put out a celebrity scandal that will capture the attention of millions more people. And they'll completely forget that you were like, oh, and by the way, there's no such thing as dirty bombs.
Yeah, right.
But the way that you can shift people's attention is infinitely fascinating. If you ever get a chance, talk to Dr. Piers Robinson, who runs the Organization of Propaganda Studies and does part of a working group on. It's called Pandata, but they've just gone through the entire propaganda operation that was the global effort to get shots in arms and people on QR codes. And it is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It is. That guy is he's just a warehouse of information on it.
I mean, back when I first started talking to Craig, when you were talking about Brazil, when you came on Jimmy's show, and I had just watched that Brazil's Got Talent with the deaf mute trans singer like warbling, sound like whale noises.
Yeah.
And I'm watching. I'm like, and I remember I asked you. I'm like, there's like, it's so obvious. Like, there's like the worldwide corporation because it's the same like crap everywhere. Like I don't know who made that new gay flag, but that's like what department of the corporation made that. But it's everywhere. It sucks, by the way. It's the worst. My girlfriend used to make a joke like, "Did any gays help you make that flag? Because it looks like shit." Like,
well, can we pull that flag up? I want to see it now.
I mean, the new arrows look like they're fucking the old flag in the ass, basically.
Oh Jesus!
Because I was joke about like with BL, like whenever I got set on I gotta do a show tonight, but I was like, hey, whatever happened with BLM? Did that work out? Like, did you end up that their lives matter? Because it started out Black Lives Matter, and they made it all the way. One chick got a house, and now you're on the gay flag. You've made it. Like, now you matter. You're on the flag of matter.
One chick got a house. Are you talking about Patrice Cullors, the head that's fucking took all the money? Fucking. Oh, Jesus Christmas.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a bad flag.
Why did they add the brown in the fucking...
That's black people. That's black people.
So that's just adding, that's being multicultural? What's the circle stand for?
Pedophiles.
I have no
now.
Kid fuckers is what it stands for.
Steve.
I mean, like,
you know what? When that winds up being,
look at the Department of Mental Health.
When that winds up being right, Pasta, you're gonna owe me an apology.
I think you got to turn the flag sideways and form that little secret FBI triangle.
Right? Okay, maybe they'll give you the intersex. Okay, I stand corrected.
Wow.
Corrected.
They give you a little scenario of what it is.
You got a little breakdown. All right.
There's non-binary there, pansexual,
asexual, agender. Bear is represented on
what
there.
Is bear? What is fucking bear?
That's a big old burly hairy gay man, Pasta.
Yeah, I know. I used to hear that term like, dude, that dude is like in the restaurant business. He's a little bit touchy there. You better be careful, Pasta. He likes the bears.
Now it means now it means you're part of the Owen Benjamin universe. Also,
that's the flag of that's Owen Benjamin.
No, but they're bears. He has that whole Beartaria thing. And
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, Owen.
Taking it back, Owen. Taking it back.
What is
back.
pansexual? I mean, can we discuss that?
Pansexual? That means you'll fuck. That means you'll fuck a king crab.
You'll fuck anything. I mean, that's the guy from Blue Velvet who's like, I'll fucking fuck anything that moves. Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Jesus Christmas.
Yeah. And you could be, I would imagine, can you be both poly and pan? Is there a flag for that?
Yeah, you could be poly pan, sure.
Let's see what we got.
Steve, I was looking at the thumbnail. I know we got to the president of the European Bank. We got Kurt there on the thumbnail, but what is the person in the bottom left? Because it looked like
that's Jerome Powell hiding behind Christine Lagarde.
I thought it was Bob Menendez.
Wait, I remember that name. Who's Bob? That name sounds familiar.
Bob Menendez is a Florida. Well, is he north? He's not even Florida. I think he's in New York. Maybe he's a congressman. And he's like very, very much like anti-communist, anti-Latin America, anti-Cuba. Like, he's horrible. And so I know him very well because obviously I'm going to Cuba tomorrow. And yeah, he's fucking awful. He's what they refer to as a gusano, a worm, an ex-Cuban exile that is against the government.
Dude, I'm so sick of like rich exiles from other countries whose first thing the day they set foot here is to get us to invade their old country because they're mad. Yep. That's like every goddamn thing.
Yep.
I mean, that's where all those goddamn neocons came from. It's like that's all the people from fleeing whatever communist country back in the day. And you get the fucking Cubans. Then you got that Chalabi guy, right, with Iraq. And there's I mean, like all of them. I guess they're just like rich people, so they're like they show up at a party and they're like, "Hey, I'd like you to flex the mic for my."
Most of the time, they were part of the operation to remove that government that failed. So now we take them in. And Florida is just littered with them, from their state legislation to their the national legislation. They are people who want. Even Ron DeSantis is like, well, the problem with Nicaragua is we never handled Cuba and Venezuela. Had we done that, we wouldn't be dealing with this. And what do you mean by fucking handled? Like going and invade? And they want to. Trump, he was awful when it came to Latin America. He put on 20 sanctions in Cuba. And there are Cuban exiles now that have been talking. Bob Menendez was the one where Biden was the State of the Union. He goes, Bob, I want to talk to you about Cuba. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What's going to happen? What's in store for Cuba? Because Cuba is one of those countries that really relied a lot. Their economics, their communist government relied a lot on, what do you call it? Help me out. Oh my God, my fucking brain fart here. Travel, on tourism, on tourism and that whole industry there. COVID fucking crushed their tourist industry. So they're trying to find a way to get back right now, and they're in some hard times.
How come Canada was always like you could, that's the first thing I saw when I was first going to Canada a lot for shows was that they had a lot of tours, back when it was illegal I guess you had to go there to fly to Cuba or something.
Yeah.
So how does Canada, who's kind of our bitch, like with the trucker thing, that's like us telling Trudeau, like, you got to crack down extra hard on we want you having this digital thing. Why were they allowed to keep tourism going there for so long when we made it illegal? Like, why weren't they doing our bidding then?
I actually, I think I may be able to shine some light on this.
You're grabbing something, aren't you? Hold on.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Let's see. Oh, God damn it. Hard to find video. At any rate, because Justin Trudeau is the bastard son of.
Here it goes.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that, but.
And because Castro just laid down such sweet pipe, and his Castro's Pierre, the Trudeau, the dad, was such a Canadian cuck. He was like, well, I guess we have to keep relations with Cuba open, travel with Cuba open.
So his wife could fuck Castro, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so the wife can just hop down there for vacation when she needs to. And I mean, in fairness, his name is Pierre Trudeau. He probably was French enough to have some side. Maybe they had just that kind of a relationship. You know, I'm not here to judge or kink shame or anything like that.
You're gonna piss Fee off. That's all you're gonna do.
She gets so mad
Why?
at the thought that Justin Trudeau might be Castro's bastard
Why's
because
that?
She's a communist and she likes
she's got
she
a
likes
she's got
Castro and she can't stand fucking Trudeau. So that's why.
Castro's her Disney prince. And so it's the thought of her Disney prince siring something like Justin Trudeau gives her the mad feels.
Yeah, she's already pissed off. Yeah. I think is it James Franco is gonna play Castro in the movie?
I thought they scrapped that.
Did they scrap it?
I thought they crawfished on that.
All right, Zach Galifianakis is not gonna play Batista then.
That should have happened. That 100% should have happened. And
how come?
Yeah.
Well, shit, I'm blanking out. But, fuck, I had a question.
There's direct flights now to Cuba right from here. It's like an hour and 20-minute flight from Fort Lauderdale Airport to Cuba. You just have to have a reason for going in there, and obviously, journalistic is one of the reasons you can go in there. But no credit cards can be used. You can there's got some Bitcoin ATMs. You can do that. But you got to bring American cash because they're not in the SWIFT program, and they have been labeled a terrorist state. You know, so it's really fucked up because anybody doing business with them, any country pretty much that's part of the West, gets punished. So they've been suffering hardcore.
How did they label them a terrorist state? Like, what's the grounds of that? They're just doing it?
I don't know. I have no clue how they get away with it, but they get away with it because America's view, you know, especially the conservative movement, their idea of communism is very, you know, sophomoric and comic, and it's like that one aspect of central control or central planning leads to, it's authoritarianism, and that's what communism is. They're evil. We can't let them get in, that kind of thing. So it's just America's image of communism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, the brand name is toxic. I mean, the thing that's funny is everybody fucking loves central planning. They're all, we need more central planning. Like, it's amazing especially like the amount of admiration for like how China does it from places here. That's why it throws me China is our enemy thing. Like, you guys like really admire them, especially like all the cancel culture bullshit, which is just sanctions. That's what it is. You know, that's what sanctions is. We canceled Cuba. Or if it happens like to a person, and I remember watching people gleefully you're canceled because they're hoping the person's family will overthrow them, will starve and take them out of office as their dad or whatever the fuck. Like,
that's what sanctions are meant to do, is to have the population turn on the government, and that's what they're trying to do in Cuba right now. And I'm sure there's going to be some people that have been suffering and be like, enough is enough, because when you can't fucking eat, then anything's on the table at that point.
How are you going to have the strength to overthrow the government if you can't eat? I don't think anybody has that ever worked, that sanctions made the people rise up against their leader? To me, it looks like they really band together with the leader, no matter how bad they are, because they can't believe this other country is starving them.
I don't think it's worked in a grand scale, but I'm sure there's little countries where it has worked, where they've overturned the government, you know, and it's been possible. I mean, it's definitely not working in Syria. It's definitely not working in Cuba right now. So
it didn't work in Iraq.
No.
I mean, if the goal is to continue the cycle of forever war and keep the money laundering machine rolling.
Yeah, right.
They're doing that. They're doing a bang up job with that.
Yeah, I was watching somebody talking about, because you're a military industrial complex, but I didn't it's so big now that the military, it's not just like what I would have thought, which is like, the weapons and then Congress, what do they call it? The iron triangle of those three things. It's also like food. There's so many other things dependent on it. The think tank industry, all the universities, like everything is directly connected to this going on forever. And I didn't realize.
Years ago, a guy named Ray McGovern, who was a CIA analyst for years and years and years, Russia desk, and the Veterans for Peace guy, and does a lot of volunteer work on behalf of Assange and free speech in general. Right. He came up with the new acronym for what you're talking about, and it's called the Mickey Mat. And it's the
Mickey what?
The
Mat?
Mickey Mat. The Mickey Mat. The
Yeah.
military, industrial, congressional, let's see, intelligence, media think tank.
Oh, right. Media also is part of the military.
Yeah.
Like, it's all stuff I wouldn't have necessarily thought was like incredibly dependent on that, but it's like all very dependent.
The tech sector. Pharmaceutical industry. You're absolutely
the chemical
right about
companies,
the food industry,
leather industry, corduroys. Because if you look at that small little book, it's called "War Is a Racket" by Smedley Butler.
Yeah.
He goes into all these other companies that you would never even think that make all this money. All they got to put clothes and boots and everything on the soldiers when they get them over there. So there's all these little industries that you don't even realize is part of that whole complex. Well, they'll push for wars as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that Coca-Cola liked the fact that we were in Iraq and we had American troops because they were selling Cokes for like, what were they billing the Pentagon? $7 a Coke for a bottle of Coke or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So ridiculous shit to get it over there. So it's just like, this whole fucking industry depends. These major corporations depend on war. War is a business for us, for them, and it always has been. And he called this shit out even before World War II.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, get ready when when whatever the other shit we were talking about in the beginning happens. That's when we're gonna get the big reveal of we're under attack by aliens, and then you're gonna need your digital ID.
Yeah.
So we know you're not with the Tic Tac people.
Kurt, let everybody know what you're doing, what's going on, man. Thanks for coming back to the show. We miss you over here. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
We love our Kurt Metzger Wednesdays.
I'm at the Comedy Store tonight, but I don't know who's in LA watching. I'm in the main room at I don't know, like 10 or something. And then KurtMetzgerComedy.com. You get my dates for. I don't even remember where I'm going next. I know I'm going to Ontario, California, the Improv on 420. So maybe coming out to that.
Fuck yeah, man. Thank you so much, brother.
All right, guys. Good talking to you.
See, you got Jimmy today?
Yeah, I got to go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Have fun. Tell him I said what's up, and we'll see you soon. All right.
Oh, wait! I forgot to tell you. For some reason my YouTube feed is sending me Hal Sparkles videos. The guy from what was it called? Queer as Folk. Remember that actor?
Yeah.
And he that guy hates my gut. I never met him. I guess he's a comic or something apparently. But I get a video of this guy, and he's enraged that we're talking about that pipeline being blown, the Nord Stream that America blew up.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things. Like, I know you're not supposed to like give people a bump or whatever, but it was so funny watching him try to explain why it was Russia that did it. I mean, I don't even think that's the official story that Russia did it, and why you shouldn't trust Seymour Hersh. It's one of the funniest things, and he's got this bizarre. He looks like Tommy Wiseau with face fillers. Like he's got this bizarre black ponytail, and here's the thing that's like blowing my mind that I can't wrap my head around. This guy's like supposedly straight, and I remember this years ago when that show was on. They're like, he's the straight star playing this gay guy in the show. He looks like he's mid-transition. Like, I'm like, I can't even wrap my. I want to know so bad what the backstory is. If you just look up, if you look at the Hal Sparkles channel, Hal Sparks, sorry, the Hal Sparks channel, not Sparkles. Jesus,
that's fucking hilarious.
He's got. I didn't say what you're talking about. You said Sparkle.
Sparks. I'm not doing that.
Wait.
It's Sparks. I'm like my mom now, and I can't say people's house Sparks. Dude, look at his bizarre ass fucking hair and ponytail. It's one of the and I'm just like, what is the deal? I'm just so curious about what this guy's deal is. Just as far as his like face and ponytail, and like he's a straight. I've never seen a straight guy that looks like. So he's what I think is a gay guy that pretended to be a straight guy that played a gay guy on a show. I don't know. I'm just so fascinated with the whole thing.
Do you know Sam Harris?
Not personally, but I know.
He seems to be still fucking doubling down on stupid. So I mean, he just...
Okay, here's why. Because I happen to know why.
Okay.
I guess I won't say how I know, but a friend of mine knows him, and so that guy makes about $100,000 a day, doing nothing, just nothing.
What?
Yeah, and he makes that money from his like atheist spiritual meditation empire.
Yeah.
You know, like how Alex Jones sell like health supplements, and so he's pandering to his audience. And what it is, and my friend there trying to explain to him like this idea where you make a product and then sell it to your fans. That's the old way. The new way is they're like it's like the influencer shit. Like they're a part of your fucking life. Okay. It's actually like so demented. And so like they'll just give you money and then you put out what you want to put out when you want to put it out. But that's how all the influencers operate, you know, like the new thing that to make money on. Also, Sam's a fucking alcoholic. Okay. He's a brutal alcoholic. So with like a straight face, like he'll drink and then his expression doesn't change. So that's the whole deal with him. That guy makes a shit ton of money. If he's even going to address something, he's got to find a way to make it pander to his base of people that want to be told. See, he's basically like Owen Benjamin. It's the same principle of Owen Benjamin, where Owen Benjamin, his fans, Jesus. You know, like Owen, I watched Owen on a thing saying like the moon doesn't exist. Like he was a moon denier because he's got fans that are like into all this dumb shit, and they're like vicious. Because the last time I saw Owen was that Rogan episode where Rogan was trying to get him to stop tweeting just for his own good. And I was always cool, Owen. I never had any issues with him, whatever. Like I was like, yeah, dude, trust me, it's not worth. And I remember he gave me some Adderall because he had a big thing of Adderall in his car. He's like whacked out on Adderall, and he fucking then started like trashing. His fans were like mad that I didn't let him talk enough or something on or it's like, you're welcome, by the way, Owen. And so that influenced him, and he started trashing both me and Rogan. So that's the same. See, that's why you just want the transaction. You don't want that fucking weird, like almost biblically pagan idolatry business, because then you're going to be trapped in bad takes forever, because that's what you're fucking. In fact, people accuse Jimmy of that, but I know for a fact Jimmy's not like that. Because you show him evidence of something, he'll hear it out, and he just won't. No matter who's mad, and people turn on him. He had all kinds of people turn on him for all kinds of things because he's the exact opposite. That's the only reason. That's why I like his show, or why I worked on it, was because I can't stand. Well, we can't say this, or my fans are going to go nuts, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But Jimmy's exactly not like that.
Yeah.
But Sam's like that, and that's why he's doubling down and trying to like hedge his bets and say all that, because he's got to think of new ways to sell that thing, that bubble to his people that are just throwing. These are like wealthy shitlibs that are, you know,
to his cult.
Yep.
To his fucking cult. By the way, is Rogan's nightclub open now? Is the comedy club open and rocking and shit? What's going on with it?
I don't know. I'm gonna go there. So I just I'm hooking it up now to go play it.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a show again when I go play it. But yeah.
A girl I helped train as a bartender out here when she was getting started in Florida, when I was out here for my biological father when he was passing away. She now works over that at the bartender. Her boyfriend's a comic. His name is Matt Bellick. He's a young kid, up and coming. He's from Chicago. He's a cool kid. But she got a job. She's like, Pasta, I got my dream job. I'm working at Joe Rogan's. I'm bartending at Joe Rogan's Club. And I'm like, that's cool as shit, girl. So go for it. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm dying to go down there, man. I had such a good. Last time I went down there, his club wasn't open yet, but I was doing the show in Playing Creek, and I hung out with Malice down there, which is pretty. Like Malice was the one that was telling me all that shit about Catboy and Fuentes. Like he's the one who showed me the picture of them on their like date.
Yeah,
there's like a meme of it of Nick Fuentes like smiling at Catboy. Oh, you like?
Are you friends with Brewer, by the way?
I know him, but I'm not like tight with him.
I'd like to see him get in our circle of shows and stuff. Some of the shit he's been doing is just so fucking awesome. His last little comedy bit was great, like about with aliens coming and shit, and they're like, "Take me to your leader," and he's like, "Oh fuck no, oh shit, like oh mother, no."
Yeah, dude, he has some of the best stories that I ever heard, because he hung out with Lars from Metallica one night, and when he was on SNL, it's one of the funniest stories where douchebag Lars Ulrich is, and I think they found like Lars was like, I guess, coked out of his mind and like jumping on cars and shit while they're hanging out, and They ended up he found some kid's books. Some NYU student had like lost his books or something, like a backpack with him. So those are expensive. So Brewer's like, all right, I'll try to find the guy, try to get it back to him. And Lars was just so mad that he was doing that. They kept going, let me just see. And he finally gave it to him. And Lars like chucked this shit, like he like chucked this guy's shit everywhere. It was like, just imagine like if you were in school and you left your backpack and you'd never dreamed that Lars Ulrich you almost were going to get it back, but Lars from Metallica, like that's what happened to your books. Anyway, he's got good fucking stories. I haven't seen his any of the stand-up thing.
Dude, he's got so much great shit. He was doing like a parrot, like safe and effective. People are just acting like a fucking parrot and just parroting all the bullshit that's given to him. I mean, he's been on fire lately, so I'd like to see him come around our circle a little bit more and getting some interviews. I'd like to see him on Jimmy's show. That would be pretty awesome. And
I wonder if because that parrot thing, like I did I know Nick DiPaolo for like a long time. I did his pot, and like so Nick was always like a conservative, like art, like really like.
Yeah,
I loved it.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it.
We were on Horace and Pete, and we would hang out like high school, in between shooting, and like I can't remember. Like we'd be talking about something, and I would disagree with. Oh, you love Obama? You love at the time. I didn't love Obama, but I thought he was fine. A lot of that's what I'm curious of, like Jim Brewer, like the parrot thing is like, okay, you heard the parrot thing, so what does that tell you? This is why I said all conservative friends, like now that you see how it works, what do you think's been going on for your whole life that you were assuming that this was like the whole thing was real? And isn't it weird how all the Muslims are pretty cool to just stop doing terror on us? That was cool of them to drop that because it was a bad time. It was the number one threat was radical Islamic terror, and you don't hear about it. It just never happens. Yeah. Now it's all like, now it's you, motherfucker. Now you're the terrorist. Is that interesting? What does that tell you?
I know. It's like, oh shit. Put me back in the fucking Matrix. That's it. I don't want to hear about it no more. I don't want to see. I want to be fooled like Joe Pantaleone. I know this steak ain't real, but it fucking tastes real.
I mean, maybe you could put me in Matrix Part 1. I don't want. We're in like the sequel, the shitty sequel that.
I didn't see that one.
We're in the prequel to V for Vendetta, Kurt. That's what we're in. We're in the prequel.
Oh, I thought you were going to say V the series, just V.
Well, or that. I mean,
that was a great
why
series.
Not? That was fantastic.
I love Delta Burke. Delta Burke for me was like second place to Fran Dresser for me personally when I was getting to my MILF stage. I love Fran Dresser, and Delta Burke was number 2.
Oh wow, you were like the ladies' man character from SNL. I love Delta is a lady. Delta Burke, the most beautiful woman. All right, I gotta go.
Love you, brother. You have a great one. We'll see you soon.
All right, bye guys.
You got it.